Welcome to a special edition of Firearms Friday. I'm historian Evan Green, and today I'm a guest at the Wyoming Pioneer Memorial Museum in Douglas, which is about 130 miles north of Cheyenne. Really excited to be here, and I want to thank the director, Jenna Thorburn, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
For letting me come up here and do some videos here. So would you talk a little bit about your museum and your sites and the things that are going on here?
Yes. I'm the superintendent and curator of Wyoming Pioneer Memorial Museum, also Fort Fetterman State Historic Site and Camp Douglas Officers Club State Historic Site, all here in Douglas. The Pioneer Museum was started in the 1920s by the Wyoming Pioneer Association, which the cabin next door to this building is where it began. Pioneers would come during the state fair and bring their relics and talk about their family histories, and then it ended up, they built the main part of this building in 1956, and the rest is history. It was turned over to the state in about that time. It went to State Ag and then eventually Wyoming State Parks.
So you're kind of a sister organization to the Wyoming State Museum in Cheyenne. And
Yes.
in that we're both
state
agency
related museums. Yes. Wyoming Pioneer Association still is involved in coming. They still have their annual meetings during State Fair. I am the ex officio board member for them, and they have meetings about the state fair. They do assist me in stuff like yard cleanup, but a lot of the artifacts that we see in the museum today were donated by original pioneers, and then it just kept coming from the people of Wyoming and Douglas.
And you've done an amazing job with your displays and your interpretation.
Thank you. Yes, I've been here about 8 years as the curator, and then formally as the superintendent for about 5. And we have pretty much redone most of the cases, thinned them out, put more interpretation on them, and just redid a lot of the galleries that you now see and the storage facilities, so we know what we have and what we can switch out on occasion, as like the firearms, as you've seen.
Sure. You told me when I visited here some time ago that when you got here there wasn't even an inventory of all your artifacts.
Yeah, there was they're all cataloged. However, none of it is in a database when I got here. So we find artifacts and donations the old-fashioned way still, by the paper trail, which that was, we can still do that, but we're inputting data as fast as we possibly can with our small staff.
Well, yeah, I was amazed at how few people you really have here and what a great job you do.
Yes, so, yep, we have about 1.5 other people during the entire year for this site, so 2.5 of us total. And we just, when it's closing, winter, we just really hustle. We never really have a downtime.
So I'm going to talk about a couple of the firearms in your collection, and I know you're shorthanded and other things are going on, so if you want to step out and take care of business,
thank you.
I'll give you a shout when we're ready for another video. Thank you, Jenna. Thank you very much. A couple of handguns here, interesting ones, I think. This is the original that we want to talk about today. It is a model 1909 Colt double-action revolver. And as a service weapon, as a firearm that was issued to United States troops, this is sort of the Rodney Dangerfield in that it gets overlooked and doesn't get a lot of respect because it was in service only for 2 years, from 1909 until it was replaced by the John Browning's design, the Colt semi-automatic model of 1911. So I want to talk just a little bit about the long history of Colt firearms in military service and in combat. This is a commemorative version of the original Colt Patterson, from about 1836. And the Pattersons were a 5-shot revolver, 36 caliber, had a folding trigger that drops down when you cock the hammer. And it saw its first use in the mid 1830s with a contingent of Texas Rangers under Jack Coffee Hayes, and they encountered a larger group of Comanche Indians, and the Comanche Indians were accustomed to each Ranger having 2 shots, one shot from his muzzle-loading rifle and 1 shot from a muzzle-loading pistol. In this situation, Hayes' troops were armed with, in some cases, 2 or maybe 4 of these Colt 5-shot Patterson revolvers. So the Patterson really gave the Texas Rangers equal standing with Comanche warriors armed with bow and arrows, because they had 10 to 20 shots before they had to reload. So the next firearm in the Colt history was the Walker of 1847, weighed almost 5 pounds. There was only about 1,000 of them issued to the military, and maybe 100 that were available for civilian use. They're one of the rarest of the Colt firearms. Then there were 3 editions of the Colt Dragoon, which was a smaller but still significantly sized handgun. The 1851 Colt Navy, I don't know that it was ever Army issued, but it was certainly acquired in private purchase for soldiers and had a role in the Civil War. The 1860 Army caliber 44 6-shot revolver was over 200,000 were purchased by the Union. It was the most used revolver by the Union in the Civil War. In 1873, the Army adopted the Colt single-action Army, and the single-action Army was in use and standard issue until 1892, when the Army adopted its first swing-out cylinder revolver, a Colt that was chambered in .38 Colt. It was the primary handgun for the American military during the Spanish-American War and the Philippine-American War, and it proved to be inadequate as a man-stopper in combat. So actually, the Army shipped a bunch of Colt single-action Armies, many of them the artillery model with the barrel cut to 5.5 inches. They shipped those to the Philippines so they would be better armed. And then came the Colt model of 1909, which is chambered in .45 Colt, the same cartridge as the single-action Army. And again, this was very short service life. It's a really nice handgun, well finished, very popular for the short period of time, and was then phased out by the 1911. Now, a similar frame size of Colt revolver was manufactured at the start of the World War I, because they didn't have, usually, as is usual, the United States was caught off guard, didn't have enough 1911 semi-automatics to arm its troops, so they had Colt and Smith & Wesson make revolvers, 6-shot revolvers, that would chamber the .45 ACP cartridge using moon clips to deal with the extraction problems. And that 1917 remained in use up through the Vietnam War. Some of the tunnel rats who were going after Viet Cong in the tunnels were armed with that 1917 Colt or Smith & Wesson revolvers. So that's a quick history of Colt revolvers. I really like this one. The civilian version was also very popular and was available in several different calibers. It was called the Colt New Service. So there you have it, Colt revolvers. Oh, and the cartridge. Shout out to the guy who said, "Show us the ammunition." This is a .45 long Colt or Colt cartridge. And of course, the Patterson used a 36 or nominally 375 round ball. So again, thank you for watching. And again, my appreciation to the folks here at the Wyoming Pioneer Memorial Museum for hosting us. If you have any comments, put them down below. If you want to talk to me about Wyoming history or firearms, you can leave a message at the Wyoming State Museum, and I'll get back to you. So thanks for watching.